Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Tuesday. All of our guests today brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort, and that includes Craig Button standing by. Looking for a winter getaway? The Bayside is the perfect spot. When you stay a minimum of 2 nights between now and February 29th, you can get 25% off their best rate. Must call and book directly through the hotel. Call 250-248-8333 to book today. Friend of ours texting in Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Air Jordans seem to do okay. When you talk about somebody who is past their prime athletically, still selling well. I promise his brand still sells well. So again, you guys could be more wrong. Okay, hockey. Joined now by TSN Scouting Director Craig Button. Craig, thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I mean, is there somebody doubting Michael Jordan's financial prowess post-career? I mean, it's unbelievable. What did he buy the Charlotte Hornets for? Like $250 million?
Yeah.
He just sold them for like $2 billion?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he knows what he's doing. No, Rick and Ryan don't understand why TaylorMade would hook up with Tiger Woods to sell a product. Can you believe that, Craig?
Well, doesn't TaylorMade make golf clubs?
Yeah. Golf apparel,
Yeah, but
that sort of thing.
See, now I could understand if like TaylorMade was in the business of producing skateboards and they signed up Tiger Woods. But I mean, Tiger Woods golfs, they make golf clubs. It seems to be a natural fit. No, Rick? Am I being too simple here?
Craig, he hasn't done anything in years. That's
What's Jordan done in years?
okay, but totally different. Totally different.
I don't know.
You know, Rick, I got to be careful about weighing in here because there's lots of people that say I haven't done anything in years either. So I'm sitting this one out.
Yeah. Well, every Tuesday you do something,
yes,
Craig.
We love you.
By the way, we're very concerned. Like we love the salmon-colored walls that are usually in the background at your home. Is there a renovation going on right now?
I had I got a new desk. I got some new stuff coming in. I repainted it. Yeah, I repainted it. I did. But, you know, you're going to see a different setup here. And by next Tuesday, you'll see a little bit of a different setup in terms of it. But I changed the color. I did change it. So, you know what? I could always use a screen like background, and we could have the salmon swimming upstream, or kind of moving like aquarium like.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in the budget, Craig. I'll check with the bosses. Okay, Morgan Rielly. I don't know if you've heard anything, but we haven't heard anything about the length of a suspension. What do you think would be fair?
Well, I continuously go back to the David Perron suspension. And you know what? I mean, we know that not every play is exactly the same, but there's similarities with respect to the two plays. And the similarities, number one, I think, is it's a cross-check to the head. Number two, it's after the play is over. And it's in regards to something that the player, in the case of David Perron and now in the case of Morgan Rielly, felt that they had to do something in terms of vengeance. One was because David Perron thought that Artem Zub had hurt Dylan Larkin. The other one was because Ridley Gregg had slapped the puck into the empty net. And certainly those plays from that respect, seem to be very similar with regards to the act and certainly what the Department of Player Safety, I would imagine, is looking at.
So we'll wait on that decision. Canucks are in Chicago tonight. It's the first place team in the National Hockey League versus the worst in the Chicago Blackhawks, record-wise anyway. But I want to ask you this. Rick Tocchet has clearly become a fan of former first-round draft choice of the Montreal Canadiens, Noah Juulsen. Can you understand why, Craig?
I can. I think what Rick really, like good coaches, what they want to do is have a player play to his capabilities. Okay, so what are your strengths? What do you bring to the game? What are your attributes? Now go and play to them. And I'm going to use an example. And Nikita Zadorov, who is a first-round draft pick currently playing for the Vancouver Canucks, he came to Calgary And he moved around a little bit, came to Calgary. I believe he played 2 or 3 games in the first year under Dale Sutter, and then he was like a healthy scratch for 9 or 10 games. And Daryl and the coaching staff really worked with Nikita. Here's what we need from you. Here's what we're looking from you. Here's your areas of strength, and now play to this level. Play with these attributes in mind, and assert and use them to the best of your abilities. Nikita did that. He never came out of the lineup. He became a really good, important player on a top defensive team. So Rick Tocchet, like all good coaches, look at players, and I always say that they're not going to ask you to do more than you're capable of, but don't give them less. And certainly Noah Juleson, who was a first-round draft pick, he's got size. He plays a competitive, physical type of game. And so I don't know what goes through a player's mind. Maybe you think you're a first-round, not maybe. Maybe because you're a first-round draft pick, you start to think you got to do more than you're capable of. But sometimes it takes a coach like Rick Tocchet to come in. Noah, here's your game. Now just go and play that way. Being a right shot defenseman is like being a left-handed pitcher in baseball. You can play until you're 49 years of age. And, and depending on that, you might be able to earn money like Michael Jordan post-career. But a right shot defenseman are coveted. And certainly somebody that plays competitively and physical like Noah, I think you're giving players maybe a little bit more opportunity. But I think Noah's taken advantage of it.
Craig, we always hear about Tanev and Hanifin in Calgary, but over the weekend we heard about Jacob Markstrom. Is that a player, he's got term left, is that a player you would move or would you keep?
I would keep him, Rick. The Calgary Flames, I don't know. I think we had this discussion last year about Thatcher Demko. Is that a player they should keep? And I think I'm pretty consistent. I said, listen, if somebody phones and you can make a deal that is overwhelmingly in your favor, and I use the word overwhelmingly in your favor and like on purpose, then you might start to say, yeah, this is something we can do. But in the absence of that, the contract is good, $6 million cap hit the next 2 years. Your team is good enough. I mean, they're 23-16-3 after starting 2-7-1, and you're trying to build. They're not trying to tear it down and start with a complete rebuild. They got some good prospects. The next steps for Craig Conroy and the management group is building this team out, trying to find a way to add players that can elevate their status. That's what the Vancouver Canucks did, and we find where they are today, which is really impressive. Now, I'm not suggesting that every team can do that, and Dustin Wolf to me is a top-notch goaltender, but I'd like him to learn under Jacob Markstrom. I don't want to just throw him out there without some mentorship and having somebody like Jacob around. So I wouldn't be trading him, but if somebody comes calling and starts to say, hey, listen, we'll offer you this, and we'll offer you this, and we'll offer you that, then maybe Craig Conroy has to listen. Now, I can't imagine a team would do that, but that would be the conditions under which I would consider trading Jacob Markstrom, and no other conditions would I. I'm not looking to get a first-round draft pick for Jacob Markstrom that might help me in 5 years' time.
Craig, what's happening in Philly? They lose Carter Hart, and you think, okay, they lose their number one goalie, they're going to go down. They've won 4 straight. They're 10th overall in the NHL standings. It's supposed to be a rebuild, and they're not losing like it's supposed to be a rebuild. They keep winning.
Well, I mean, I think you just talked about Rick Tocchet and what's happened with the Canucks, and I think it's very similar with John Tortorella. Establishing a standard, being uncompromising in terms of making sure we play to that standard. They also have some younger players that have emerged and certainly have come into their own and are ready to contribute. I think of somebody like Tyson Forster. They have internal competition. Morgan Frost has been a scratch at different points during the season. Bobby Brink started out great. That competition within, but they have some good, solid players. Sean Couturier returns to the lineup. You can never underestimate the impact of Sean Couturier and the importance he has to a team. But Samuel Ersson is a good goaltender. And maybe and perhaps at times, you don't know a goaltender, you can believe in a goaltender's potential. And maybe it works right against my own argument I just made about Dustin Wolf and Jacob Markstrom. But Samuel Ersson has shown that he can be a really good, dependable goaltender in there. So you lose Carter Hart. and you don't miss a step. And certainly the Philadelphia Flyers, John Tortorella is exactly like this. I'm not going to be concerned about players that aren't here. I'm not going to be concerned about players that are not available to me. I'm going to be working with the players that I have and making sure that we compete every single game to be the best we can be. And certainly the Flyers have done that.
Back to the Canucks. Nils Höglander has 16 goals, fourth on the Canucks right now. No power play time. What do you think is in his future, Craig?
I think that, I've watched Nils for a long time, and I'm sure the three of us have had a conversation on this. I always felt that Nils was a player that could play with good players, that because of his speed and his energy could be a catalyst. I never felt that Nils was going to be a real top offensive player. That doesn't mean you can't kind of sprout to a certain level. And he's had a fantastic year. And perhaps even going to the American Hockey League last year and playing in Abbotsford and being able to have more puck touches, being able to have more opportunity to work on that part of his game. He came in, I know he had opportunities to play up in the lineup, but then he didn't score in Vancouver. And then Rick Tocchet comes in and really looks at Nils. You need to do these things. Back to what we talked about with Noel Jolson. I don't think that Nils has lost anything in his game with respect to his skating, his competitive effort, being a catalyst type of player. And I also believe this too about Nils. Nils, I mean, I don't know how many times I probably saw live him score 3 or 4 Michigan goals, attempt a whole bunch more. And perhaps that Nils has just said, hey, listen, I can do the trick plays. Now I got to work on the other parts of offense to be able to score. And I can't recall this year seeing him attempt a Michigan or any of those trick plays. What I've seen him be is a really good catalyst player that's taken full advantage of his opportunities.
No salmon, but you were swimming upstream during this segment, Craig. It was excellent, and we appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thanks. You guys have a great week.
You bet.